Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Last week we finally shared with you guys that we are pregnant for baby number 2, and before we go ahead with this video, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for the amount of positivity, compliments and good wishes and love, everything that we've gotten on that video and on my Instagram post and everywhere that we've announced it. So in the pregnancy announcement video from last week, we did promise that I was going to make this video and tell you guys everything and the reason why we waited this long to share the news. I suppose the start of this story would be when David and I decided that it was okay to have another baby. This is just basic family planning 101. We came to that decision because we had established a routine with Kian and we thought it was okay to try for another baby, and if it happens, it happens. Like, no pressure, but no birth control. That was sometime in June. Around July, beginning of July, we all went on a family holiday trip to Scotland. So you guys remember the Scotland travel vlog? That was the holiday that we had with Jamie, Nikki and Ava. So it was really fun. Of course, I'm sure most of you have watched Nikki's pregnancy story and you know the gist of what happened in Scotland with her finding out that she was pregnant. I remember one of the days, I think Jamie wasn't feeling well and David was minding Kian and Ava, so Nikki and I decided to go to the supermarket and do some grocery shopping for the house. So we got to the supermarket and I was the one dragging the basket and Nikki was looking around the shelves and throwing things in the basket. So at some point she went missing and I was there looking like, where is Nikki? And Nikki basically rocks up with this pregnancy test, right? And throws it in the basket. And I looked at her like, since when is pregnancy test a normal grocery item? And she's like, oh, I've been feeling weird and I'm just gonna pee on a stick. So then I said, since we're throwing in pregnancy tests into this basket, I'm going to throw a pack of pregnancy tests as well. So we both bought a pack each. And we went back home. She was the first to go into the bathroom to pee on the stick. And literally, she had not even zipped up her pants. She ran out. I was like, Adanna, I'm pregnant. So obviously there was this screaming and obviously everyone acting mad and we were just very happy. So it was my turn to go pee on my stick, right? I didn't really expect it to be positive. But then I was like, I mean, what the hell? Last month, David and I decided that it was okay to have a baby. And I mean, we're in July now. Although my period hadn't come and I hadn't even missed my period, there's no harm. And sometimes these pregnancy tests actually tell you if you're pregnant a few days before your period is due. So I went into the bathroom, I peed on the stick and it was negative, but I wasn't even disappointed. But anyway, I was really just carried away by Nikki being pregnant and we're all just very excited. So I arrived back in Ireland and on the day that I was supposed to see my period, I didn't. So obviously that was like, okay, what's happening? I waited a few days. I went out and I bought another pregnancy test. Peed on that one and that was negative as well. I'm not pregnant, I'm not seeing my period. What is happening? About a week later, I was on the phone to my twin sister. I hadn't even told her that we've decided to try for another baby. I hadn't told her that I had peed on a stick that was negative last week. None of that. Randomly from nowhere, she just said to me, I have a feeling that you're pregnant and I think you should pee on a stick. And I was like, okay, this girl's really psychic. But I mean, I have this random pregnancy test in my bathroom, so of course I'm gonna pee on it. I wasn't expecting this one to be positive. So I peed on the stick, dropped it by the window, went about my business, and at the end of the day, picked up the stick and got the shock of my life. At that point, David was already a week in Nigeria because he had to work and I was supposed to fly to meet him. Well, Kian and I were supposed to fly to meet him a week later for my dad's 60th birthday. Watch our pregnancy announcement video because I basically showed how I broke it to David and David's reaction and whatnot. So all of that happened in July. I hadn't told any of my family members that I was pregnant. Nobody knew at all. David and I thought we'll keep it to ourselves because we're not even 3 months in, and that's when people break the news, so we're not going to say anything to anybody. But of course my twin sister knew, because she's the one that made me pee on the test that ended up being positive. So I obviously told her I'm pregnant, but don't tell anybody because we're waiting until we're 3 months. A week before my dad's birthday, it was 6 a.m. I woke up feeling really weird, so I went to the bathroom and I found out that I was bleeding. Obviously, you guys will know that this is a classic sign of a miscarriage. So I was panicking. This was 6 a.m. I didn't want to wake David. I just basically sat on the corner of the bed until about 7. Obviously, David woke up and I told him, and we were just very sad, thinking, oh my God, what does this mean? Are we gonna lose the baby? What's happening? As I said to you, nobody in my house knew that I was pregnant except my twin. And she lives in Nigeria. Fortunately, I rang her to say, listen, do you have any obstetrician that you trust here in Nigeria that I can go to, because this is what is happening to me. My sister, okay, you guys don't know this about my twin sister, but she's a lot more emotional than I am, praying for me on the phone, telling me to stay calm. And she said, listen, at 8 o'clock I'm going to ring this guy that I really trust. I'm just gonna come and collect you and we'll go to this hospital. I saw a doctor. He went through a brief history with me, like my medical history, my obstetric history, and then he decided to do a scan. This was the scan that I did in Nigeria. As you can see, obviously, there's something that looks like 2 sacs in this scan. He said to me, listen, I can't pick up any heartbeat. Your diagnosis is a miscarriage, so I'm afraid that you've lost the baby. He said this to me, my sister was there, and oh my God, her reaction, she just burst out crying. I don't even want to think about that. It's just really sad. Anyway, it was just a very sad moment for me, for us actually, but my sister was showing more emotions than I was, and I just found myself telling her, okay, Adama, you need to get it together. Do you want me to send you out of this room? She's like, no, I'll stay, I'll get it together. She was crying. I just felt really loved, you know, having my twin sister there present when I received such a bad news, and having her support, and actually seeing that she's really affected by this. There was just something special about that. He went on to say to me, listen, these are your options for an evacuation. We could wait for things to go naturally. We could give you a medication, or we can do a D&C. He was telling me that if I'm interested in a D&C, they can offer me a D&C there and then. And I was just like, hold up. I'm not gonna rock up into this hospital where I know no one and go on the GA for a D&C. No thank you. For me personally, I was just of the opinion that if things are going to happen, they're going to happen naturally. It wasn't even so much of me not wanting to have a D&C in Nigeria. Like, I literally just got the diagnosis. Give me some time to actually process this information and make a decision on how I wish to proceed. But anyway, I knew that I would wait because my dad's birthday was just almost less than a week to go. And I knew that I had a few more days after his birthday to come back to Ireland. So I said to him, well, I'm happy to wait for things to happen naturally until I get back to Ireland. Then I would see my obstetrician. I got back home and I told my little sister Alma, and she was also very empathetic. I was just very lucky that I had that support with me. David was there as well, so I just felt really supported. Fortunately, closer to my dad's birthday, I just realized that I had stopped bleeding. So that obviously just brought back that little bit of hope for me. I just kept myself very busy, very distracted. Like, there was so much preparation. Then on my dad's birthday, towards the later part of the night, I just started to feel really unwell. My intestines just felt like they were going in knots. My belly was cramping like crazy. And then I just felt something really, really weird. I ran to the bathroom and it was like someone had poured a bucket of blood clots on me. Like, I don't even want to go into TMI with this, but let's just say that was the day that I had passed the majority of the tissue. It was just very sad. But I was just very grateful that the party had almost come to an end, because this happened towards the end of the night. The next few days were just the worst. When you hear about women that have miscarriages, and as empathetic as you can be towards them, you just cannot understand what it feels like to be a woman going through a miscarriage for a child that you've been praying for, or a child that you've been wanting, or a child that you're happy to have, or a child that you started to connect with. It's just the most painful thing for any woman to go through. So I passed out the majority of the fetal tissue, and I was happy that I didn't have to have any surgical evacuation. I had a few more days to spend with my family, and because they didn't know I was pregnant, I just felt there's no need for them to know I've just had a miscarriage here in Nigeria. So I just kept my mouth shut and eventually went back to Ireland. We came back to Ireland early August. I was still bleeding at this point. Booked an appointment with my GP, and I went in there, gave her a brief history of what had happened to me in Nigeria, and said to her that I have been trying to contact these obstetricians, and because they say I need a referral letter from you, that is my agenda here. So can you please write me a letter to see a specialist? And oh well, she said, as per the policy here with seeing private obstetricians or gynecologists here in Ireland, we can't give you a referral letter unless you've had 3 consecutive miscarriages. Now, I don't even pray for any woman to have 1 miscarriage, but can you imagine going through that, thinking all you want is answers to your question, feeling sad, like in the middle of your miscarriage, you go to someone that tells you you need to go through this horrible thing you're going through 3 times before we can refer you. I just took a step back and was like, wait, is this how the system works? Because I mean, I'm no specialist. I'm not an obstetrician. I'm not a gynecologist. I work in the emergency department. But being a doctor, like, this was the very first time that I was a proper patient. And it just made me really reflect on my work and just being a doctor here, and you know, the things that we say to patients that actually does affect the way that they're feeling. Because hearing that from someone telling me you have to go through a miscarriage 3 times before you see a specialist was just very hurtful. She said, well, until then you're managed by your GP. So she took all of my medical history, obstetrics history. I showed her the ultrasound that I'd had in Nigeria. She did a physical exam. She did a speculum exam, and she said the fact that you're still bleeding now, she's not keen to refer me for an ultrasound, to wait until the bleeding stops, and then I can have another ultrasound to make sure that I've passed out all of the tissue and my uterus is clear. Every day just seems so long and so bleak, and it was just really sad having this constant reminder that David and I are losing a child that we were so excited to have. But I decided to channel my energy into something very positive. So I was working like crazy. I was going to the gym like crazy. I just said to myself, well, since I'm not having this baby, I'm going to get my body into the best shape that it's ever been. I was going to the gym about 4 or 5 times a week. I was working out for 2 hours each day that I go to the gym. I was playing tennis, I was swimming, I was doing everything. It was just a very good outlet for me. Every time I climbed on the treadmill or every time I lifted those weights, I was in a positive space. I was channeling all of my energy into work, into setting up my company. I was doing everything that was distracting me from going through what I was actually going through. But the time went by, I still kept bleeding. It didn't look like the bleeding was stopping, and I was really confused. For a fetus that wasn't even up to 2 months old, I just didn't expect that I would still be bleeding from the end of July, and it's September now and I'm still bleeding. I just decided to ring David's parents. Well, bear in mind, they didn't even know that we were pregnant, let alone losing the baby. So in that conversation, I had to say to them, we were pregnant, we've lost the baby, it's difficult to see somebody in Ireland. Can you please get me an appointment in Germany? And as hands-on as David's parents are, they were on the quest. I think in 2 days they rang me saying, listen, we've gotten you an appointment, but the unfortunate thing is the earliest appointment is only in about 2 weeks. I was like, Mama, this is the best news ever. Thank you very much. I am booking my flight to Germany. So we booked a flight to Germany, and that was around September. So you guys know the Germany vlog. The main reason for going to Germany was my obstetrician appointment. It was just very nice being around David's family, being around family and people that were just very supportive throughout this horrible thing that we had been going through. Retrospectively, you guys can understand that was about the time I was slightly MIA. Like, I didn't post anything on my Snapchat. I barely showed my face on my Insta story. I barely posted any pictures on Instagram. I was just doing the weekly vlogs, but mostly because David was traveling as well. We had content to put out every week as well. But this was around the crucial time that we were going through this miscarriage. The day came for us to go to the appointment. It was myself, David, Kian, and David's mother. And for me, I just had 2 questions for that obstetrician. Number 1, have I passed out all of the fetal tissue? I need to understand why I have been bleeding for 2 months. Number 2, what are my chances of getting pregnant again, and how soon should I start trying for another baby? We got to the appointment. Luckily, the doctor actually spoke fluent English, so I didn't need anybody in the room for translation. So although David had to stay back in the waiting room because of Kian, who was just active running around the whole place, David's mother said to me, listen, I'm happy to wait for you in the waiting room, but if you want, I'm happy to come in with you. And I was like, Mama, I would not have it any other way. Please come with me into this room. You know, Germans, very thorough. So these German obstetricians took all of my medical history, my obstetrics history, and took my miscarriage history. Basically, when the test was positive, how many weeks was I when I arrived at the doctor in Nigeria. And she wanted to see the ultrasound scan from the doctor in Nigeria. She wanted to know how things had progressed. And she was actually shocked that from my last ultrasound scan in July, and now it's the end of September, and I haven't done another ultrasound scan. She wanted me to undress, climb on the table, and then she did the ultrasound scan. Now, it's just funny what you don't see when you're not looking for that thing, because I looked up at the screen and it looked like there was a fetus, right? That's what it looked like. And the doctor looked at me and said, oh, the fetus is there. And the next thing I said was, Oh my God, I cannot believe that I've been bleeding for close to 3 months and I've still not passed out all of the fetal tissue. Does this mean that I have to come in and do a D&C? This D&C that I've been avoiding since July. And she said, well, why would you need a D&C? This is the heartbeat. The baby is alive. I think this is just crazy. When she told me that, I think earlier on, my mother-in-law had noticed that there was a fetus on the ultrasound screen. So she got up and she held my hand. Well, she said, according to her, she said, when she saw the baby, she obviously thought like the same thing I thought. The fetus is still there, but it's not alive, until she noticed the heartbeat before I did. And when the doctor said to me, well, the baby is alive, what are you talking about an evacuation? And I looked at my mother-in-law. I was like, Mama, what is she talking about? Like, this crazy German woman, what is she talking about? And David's mother was already bawling her eyes, crying. And she said to me, Adanna, you're pregnant. I was like, what do you mean I'm pregnant? I lost the baby in July. This is the end of September. What do you mean I'm pregnant? Like, I've basically gone through the last 2.5 to 3 months thinking that I have lost this baby. So what do you mean that I'm pregnant? Well, the German woman, who obviously didn't fully understand the roller coaster that I'd been going through, didn't understand why it was difficult for me to believe that I was pregnant. I had an ultrasound in Nigeria. Well, she went through the scan again with me. Apparently, based on how far along I was at the time that I did the ultrasound in Nigeria, it was too early to pick up any heartbeat. And it turned out that I was pregnant for twins. So the 2 sacs were actually the 2 pregnancies. But because the 1 sac that I showed you earlier looked somewhat abnormal, all of the miscarriage that I was having was the other twin that didn't form properly. I was still in shock at this point. I was crying and I looked back up at the screen and this is what I saw. Look at the size of that child. How did I have something this big growing inside me and I didn't even know? It was just crazy. And the weeks before, like, I had noticed that my belly was getting just slightly big. And I was thinking, well, I'm working out 4 to 5 times a week, 2 hours each time. I'm eating healthy. Why is my belly getting big? I just couldn't understand it. Well, obviously, I understand why now. I was holding on to my mother-in-law, like, don't let me go, because I might just wake up and this might be a dream. And we were both crying and she said, I have to go call David in now. I was telling her to go call David, but I just couldn't let her hand go. David said his mom came out crying and said, David, I think you're going to be a dad again. I mean, David, who obviously didn't understand what that was, ran into the room and looked at me like, what's my mother talking about? I could barely even formulate words. I think I ended up saying something like, well, turns out we were having twins. We lost only one. And there's this survivor who's just been chilling in my uterus while we didn't obviously realize we were pregnant. So David's reaction was just epic. Like, he went from laughing hysterically to crying to laughing. Like, I had never seen David with so much mixed emotions as I saw in that room. It was just the cutest thing ever. Well, you can imagine the rest of our stay in Germany was super, super, super pleasant. The first thing I did was ring my twin sister and I told her, listen, it turns out I have a survivor. And well, needless to say, like, she burst out crying on the phone. I got back to Ireland and I then eventually was was seen by an obstetrician. He gave her my entire history and the craziness of a roller coaster that had been happening. She's one of the best obstetricians, I would say. I'm being biased because she's a woman and she graduated from the Royal College of Surgeons, but she's actually brilliant. He said to me, everything's fine with the baby. The baby's growing well, everything's good, but I'm worried about your placenta. And I looked at the screen and she said to me, listen, half of your placenta is covered in hematoma. You have a subchorionic hematoma, and in some cases, the babies don't survive. I mean, I've gone from being excited about being pregnant, being sad about losing the baby, going 3 months being sad about the miscarriage, arriving in Germany, realizing that one baby survived, and then I come back to Ireland and she said to me, half of your placenta is covered in blood clots and this baby mightn't survive. Like, listen, I was like, I said, I'm just done. I am done thinking about this any further. I just can't with the emotions. Jesus, take the wheel. If you want to give me a baby, you give me a baby. Listen, if this baby went through the first trimester with me working out in the gym like crazy, working crazy hours and doing all these crazy things because I didn't know I was pregnant, and still having this baby that survived, I'm like, obviously, God, you want to give me this baby. You want this baby to survive. So I'm just done with any of these emotions, and I just switched off. She just said to me, listen, we're placing you as a high-risk pregnancy and we have to monitor you every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks sounded good. I felt very comfortable that someone was looking after me, and I had this very high assurance that everything would be fine. So every 2 weeks that I went to the appointment, I felt very relieved. Like, the best part of my appointment was lying on that bed, doing the ultrasound and just hearing the heartbeat and seeing the baby move was just the best reassurance for me. And then I'll go back home and I'll be fine. I'll be fine the next day. But then the day after that was just worry. And I just kept being very paranoid and thinking, oh my God, what will happen in a week and a half? What if I get to this appointment and the baby doesn't have a heartbeat? It's just the worst feeling ever. For me, I was thinking, I don't want to feel so excited, so connected, and then I go to my next appointment and something's wrong. I just didn't think, honestly, that I would get through another sad news. So for me, the best thing was just to detach my emotions. I tried my best to not connect, and then sometimes I felt like it was unfair to the baby and it was unfair to myself. So I would feel so happy and so excited, and then the slightest tummy ache or the slightest headache, I would think the worst. Like, I do not even wish this upon, I don't even want to say my enemies because I have none, but I just do not even wish this on anybody at all. This is just a horrible thing for any woman to go through. Ever since that appointment in Germany, I have basically been seeing my obstetrician every 2 weeks. At some point she said to me, listen, you know those crazy hours you're working in the emergency department? Yeah, that's going to stop. You have to quit your job. I was like, wait, hold on. What do you mean I have to quit my job? She's like, in light of the fact that you're high risk, you need bed rest. You can't be doing 12-hour night shifts. You can't be doing 18-hour shifts. Like, I'm writing your consultant to tell him that from tomorrow, you're not to resume work. Like, I just felt like, oh God, my life is really spiraling. Well, she said, listen, the decision is yours, but I can tell you and I can advise you as your obstetrician that if you do not quit your job and you do not stop working now, you will 100% lose this baby. So I stopped work and I've been at home resting, trying my best to take it easy. I've been seeing my obstetrician every 2 weeks, and I suppose the reason why we feel comfortable now to share the news is because in the last 2 or 3 appointments, she's actually really happy. My placenta is healing because I'm really taking things easy. I'm on bed rest. I know that I've been working a lot on my company, Medics Abroad, but a lot of the work doesn't require me physically moving from place to place as I would do in the emergency department. So to that extent, I've been taking it quite easy, even though I've been busy. She's like, listen, I'm discharging you from the 2 weekly appointment, and we're going to go back to you seeing me once a month. This is where I'm at. 5 months pregnant. I'm feeling very happy. I'm feeling very blessed. I'm feeling very grateful to God for seeing me through the really crazy period. Of course, I still worry in a way that I didn't worry for Kian's pregnancy. But it just makes me appreciate the journey even more, and I'm just really proud of this little Bob here to go through all that roller coaster and still survive. Oh my God, I will definitely pick a special name for this child here. David and I are just so happy, so grateful, so blessed. We still went through a miscarriage, and that has motivated me to want to share the story. So I'm going to be doing a separate video on how to deal with a miscarriage based on my experience, everything that I went through, and the things that kind of helped me get out of that zone. I'll be doing a video on that because miscarriage is just very common, and women go through it and think they're alone, not realizing that a lot of people have gone through miscarriages. In medical school, they teach you that 1 in every 4 pregnancies end up in a miscarriage. That's 25%. That's really high. A lot of women go through it, even women who have surviving kids. And if you're a woman currently going through a miscarriage, you look at other women with kids and you just think you're alone. If there's anybody who's watching this video who has gone through a miscarriage, I'm definitely going to be doing a video to support you and to encourage you. And please know that you're not alone, and the fact that you've had 1 or 2 or 3 miscarriages doesn't mean that you cannot bear a child. So I'm going to show you what my bump looks like now at 5 months. Don't be too shocked, because if you've been on this channel long enough to have seen me go through Kian's pregnancy, you do understand that I tend to have big babies. Kian was 10 pounds. 10 pounds. I have a feeling that this baby mightn't be that big. But that being said, the size of my bump now at 20 weeks is much bigger than it was with Kian's 20-week bump. So I'm going to show you what my bump looks like now, and I'm going to put a side-by-side comparison. Can you actually believe the size of that bump? The one good thing I can take out of this pregnancy is that it's going to come a lot quicker than Kian's pregnancy, because I went through the first trimester not even realizing that I was pregnant, so I felt nothing. And now the funny thing is, the moment I found out that I was pregnant, that's when I started to feel the pregnancy symptoms. I was having a lot of headaches. I still get that, but very intermittently. It's not constant. Other than that, I didn't have any nausea. There was no vomiting. In the last few weeks, I have had some sort of stuffed nose, but I'm recovering from the flu. And yeah, basically that's the update, guys. This is the reason why we've kept it this long, and we're finally happy that we can share it with you guys. Thank you so much for all the support. Thank you again for all the positivity that all of you keep showing us on this channel. This has been a blessing. I'm very grateful for this platform and grateful for the opportunity to have the voice to speak to a lot of people. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Mwah. Kisses. Bye.